Disney's Pinocchio remake gets another trailer as Matt Shakman drops out of directing Star Trek 4, Netflix's Bioshock movie gets a director, and the new film of the director of Mad Max Fury Road hits theaters. I'm Joe Acerno.
And I'm Darius Del Soin. This is Cinema Unchained.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the one and only Cinema Unchained podcast. We got a great show lined up for you today. Maybe just a bit on the leaner side, but we'll see whether or not that prediction ends up aging well. Now, before we get into the new trailer for Disney's Pinocchio remake, if you want more honest and engaging talks about movies, TV, and everything in between, don't forget to smack that subscribe button and ring the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, before we really, I'm going to say, analyze all the career moves surrounding the director of WandaVision, Matt Shakman, as we all know, Disney is giving Pinocchio the live-action remake treatment. Whether or not this is a good thing, I'm still not sure. After watching this trailer, it's weird. Like, I kind of want to see it just a bit more, but maybe that's because it's on Disney Plus. I won't have to go to the theaters to see this one. And again, as I mentioned before, this is a remake of the 1940 Disney animated classic. Pinocchio the Wooden Puppet must prove himself worthy to become a real boy. Now, next to The Lion King, because if you ask me, The Lion King is, the peak of Disney animation. In my own opinion, it's the peak of animation, period. It's my favorite animated movie of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time, period. Next to The Lion King, Pinocchio is the greatest Disney animated film, in my opinion. So I do think they're going to have really big shoes to fill to really justify remaking this film.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of liked it. I liked the trailer. It was interesting. I like Tom Hanks as an actor, so I like him being in a Pinocchio. I think that's good. I like that casting personally. But then there's like other things that hasn't completely sold me on just yet, like Jiminy Cricket and the voice actor for that. Pinocchio, I like how he looks at the very least. Again, it still feels like there's a lot we don't know, but yet they put a lot in the trailer, so I'm not entirely too sure, especially with like what direction they're going with, because some of the live action stuff hasn't really been a straight to one adaptation per se. They've been lenient with certain things. So I mean overall I think it looks good, visually engaging. Tom Hanks, amazing actor, happy he's in it. But I'm also curious to see which one is going to be received better or well, knowing that Guillermo del Toro is also doing his Pinocchio movie with Netflix.
I'm so happy you brought him up, because that was one of the things that I was going to compare this to as well. I really don't know. I feel like the Disney Pinocchio is going to have like a lighter, sweeter tone. And whereas I feel like, Guillermo del Toro, his films tend to just have like a sort of like fantastical like edge to it, and I don't mean just like in terms of fantasy. Like they just tend to be like a bit more mature and a bit more scary or dark or gruesome, and that's how I feel like his Pinocchio film is going to end up being. But it's funny enough, right? Like have you ever seen the original Pinocchio film, the original Disney Pinocchio film?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you really think about it, right? Like that one got kind of dark at times too. You know what I mean? Like it got kind of dark, a little heavier at times. So I just wonder, like, how much like this Disney remake is going to be similar in tone to that one.
Yeah, that's still up for debate, I think. I think that I'm not entirely too sure. I mean, yeah, like, this is definitely a very light, Pinocchio story. We don't know exactly how dark is going to get. Considering, so I mean, it's weird. I'm excited, but at the same time, I'm still a bit reserved. The famous wording from me, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, you should trademark that. You should really trademark that saying of yours. But I really hope that at least, like, again, as much as from what we've seen from this trailer for the Disney Pinocchio remake, again, it seems to have a lighter tone. I hope it carries the same weight and the same, I guess, darkness too that the original film had, because also too, like the original film, there's like the morals in like this story, right, that I feel like was addressed so well in the original Disney film. You know, the morality of that film is timeless, right? And I really hope that this Pinocchio film is able to capture that. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, I do agree that Tom Hanks as Geppetto, I think that's a really interesting casting choice. And he's working with none other than Robert Zemeckis yet again. You know, the two of them paired up on Forrest Gump, Castaway. You know, Robert Zemeckis, he's an amazing, amazing director. Again, Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So I wonder how this film will add up to the rest of his filmography. I think it's interesting how you have two Pinocchio films from two really amazing directors, or amazing filmmakers, coming out in not just the same year, but really within a couple months of each other. And they're both going directly to, I don't know, actually, no. No, the Guillermo del Toro one is going to be in theaters, but I think it's interesting how, like, they're both going to streaming platforms.
Yeah, I think the Guillermo is in select theaters, and then it goes to streaming on Netflix.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. Again, Lion King, the CG version, I should say, did not leave a good taste in my mouth. So that's why we'll see with Pinocchio.
Yeah, I feel like the live action adaptations have been a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, you have Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book, which was fantastic. The Beauty and the Beast one, I feel like is a bit overrated. Never saw the Cinderella one. The Lion King one, you know, like I mentioned before, The Lion King is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely peak of Disney animation, if you ask me. I feel like there were certain emotional heights that movie missed, but there were times where I felt like a little bit more mature and darker, and I appreciate it for going there. There's certain intensity that I felt like it had that I wasn't quite expecting. Like with that movie, I would have liked to see what they would have done with a PG-13 rating, like they did with the Mulan adaptation. Even though I didn't see the Mulan adaptation, but like I thought it was interesting that was PG-13. I wonder what they could have pulled off with the PG-13 for the Lion King remake. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm cautiously.
Yeah, well, forget your thoughts, Joe. They'll never happen. They'll never come to life.
But yeah, overall, cautiously optimistic. For me, I'm gonna have to wait and see. Is this like a day one thing I'll probably see? Honestly, I think for the sake of the podcast, yes. Yeah. And again, that's why I like it that this is going straight to Disney Plus. This goes to Disney Plus on September 8th. So you know what? Especially since it's going straight to streaming, I'll definitely mark it in my calendar to sit down and watch this one, because it's not really going to cost me much either. Like the words are like, all right, whatever. It's an hour and a half. I won't get it. It's not like I paid, left my house to make much of an effort to go see this. But now that I think about it, I think I will end up enjoying it. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And for everybody that's still with us, what are your thoughts on the new trailer for one of the upcoming Pinocchio movies? And again, while you're at it, leave your thoughts for which Pinocchio movie you think is going to end up being better, the Disney version or the Guillermo del Toro Netflix version. Are you actually going to watch the Disney version on Disney Plus when it comes out? Do you actually care at this point? Do you have any faith left in Disney? Are you still a Disney fanatic? Like you have so many Disney cultists out there. Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can, in whatever comment section that you can. And subscribe and hit the bell for more trailer discussions like this one. All right, now, before we get into the updates surrounding the upcoming BioShock movie, Matt Shakman, also known as the director of WandaVision, has left Star Trek 4. And all I can say is, this poor movie. This poor movie. I feel like it's been waiting to happen for such a long time. I've been waiting for it to happen for such a long time. And it just keeps getting delayed. It keeps getting shelved, being brought back to life. It was announced a while ago that it was supposed to get made or be released for end of 2023. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Because I really do love the new Star Trek movies with Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana. I genuinely love those movies. First one in particular is so fucking great. And I feel like, after watching Star Trek Beyond, I'm like, you know what? Even though there's a third movie, this doesn't feel like it's over yet. But at the same time, with how many production issues and curveballs that Star Trek 4 seem to be has been getting thrown its way, I mean, kind of feels like that sometimes, Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting choice, none to say. again, I enjoyed WandaVision a lot until the finale. Overall,
Same.
that I really enjoyed that. So him possibly doing Fantastic Four is kind of like it makes sense. I can see it. And considering his resume, he's done not just that, but It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You know, so it's...
I think Game of Thrones, too. Hasn't he?
Game of
Didn't he do
Thrones.
some stuff on Game of Thrones? Yeah.
Yeah, he did some episodes of Game of Thrones. He did some episodes of Psych. So, like, he has a really, like, good resume as far as when it comes to television comedy. But this is also where my worries come in, and where's why I always say, with a lot of MCU projects going forward now, I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, I wonder how many times I'm going to say this throughout this podcast.
We're at 2, so what? One, you're at 2, right? Did I mention it yet? Did I used to say that this podcast? Yeah, I know you're at 2.
I'm at 2. All right, so not a lot so far, but like he has a really solid resume. He has a really solid style too. Again, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's been going on for 15 seasons now, so he's been at least the television game for quite a while. And again, Marvel isn't new at this. You know, Destin Lin with Shang-Chi, he's done some TV stuff, but he's also did family drama and stuff like that with Just Mercy and numerous other projects, just not action-heavy stuff. So, and Marvel in general has been doing this when they go to, like, you know, they get indie filmmakers or whatever to do their projects. You know, no shame in that, absolutely. I'm not trying to say it's bad. But it's an interesting choice considering there's so many other options out there for a Fantastic Four movie and to be done even really differently. Again, one of my choices I don't think probably would have never happened, but still, it's interesting. Again, I think what it feels like is they're getting people to do the TV stuff who's done TV stuff. Then after that, you can go into other Marvel properties, maybe Star Wars projects, like they did with Taika. He was a character in Star Wars. He directed an episode of Mandalorian. You know, so it looks like that feels like almost a new approach they're doing, where they're bringing them in, starting them off again, still with something with a big budget, and then it's like, all right, here's a Marvel movie, or this and that and the other, just to lift them up even more. So, again, I don't know if this is their actual strategy. Again, I'm not Marvel, I'm not Kevin Feige, but I'm starting to see it more often now. That's the thing.
Yeah. And again, just looking at Matt Shakman himself, like he has, again, going kind of piggybacking off like what you're saying about like his resume, right? Like his resume and his experience make him both a great fit to direct both the new Star Trek movie and I'm going to assume like the overall tonality of Fantastic Four as well.
Yeah.
Because like, again, looking back at past MCU projects, you can kind of, see like how the movies are going to feel overall, right? From an emotional point of view. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see exactly, what happens with any of these, right? Because again, like these are just rumors as far as like Matt Shakman possibly directing Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's just a rumor.
We don't actually know this for sure. Yeah. I've heard, rumors about him. I thought I heard someone saying rumors about John Krasinski doing it too.
That was a while ago. I highly doubt that's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, I'd be surprised too. I feel like John Krasinski was like having his like Fantastic Four moment. Whether or not he's even going to be in the new Fantastic Four movie, I really don't know. It felt strange to kind of cast him in Doctor Strange 2, spoiler alert, as Reed Richards, and then just like not have him come back. Like that feels weird because like I feel like John Krasinski himself is like such a big draw, and so many people want him to be Reed Richards. So like I don't even know like what the deal is going to be with that because the rules on like how everyone looks in the multiverse, right? And like each different like parallel universe
it can
in the
look
multiverse,
different
like,
too.
Yeah, they haven't really ironed that out yet, right? Like, is it just me? Like, everyone, like, there are times where, like, they look exactly the same or similar, and they're like, oh, no, we have 3 different people playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not very consistent so far. So, I used to think that, like, oh, John Krasinski, like, oh, he's a certain bet to play Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie. I don't know so much anymore, but I would still love to see him do it, and I even think that if he could pull A Quiet Place and both direct and act in Fantastic Four, I think that could really be something special as well.
Yeah, agreed. And again, Shakman, I think after WandaVision, again, one of the strongest thing about WandaVision, in my opinion, was, there were so many, as you go throughout the show, every episode is like based off of a sitcom of a show, but back, then. And he did it so well. Like, it really feels like that.
I Love Lucy to Modern Family, like he pulled out something new.
So like if he can do that,
episode.
So if he can do that, with Fantastic Four, oh my God, there's so many different sci-fi films he can kind of base Fantastic Four off of, and kind of imbue it into that, or even Star Trek Beyond, or the new Star Trek film. It's gonna be interesting. Let's just say going forward. Again, cautiously optimistic. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see.
That's 3. But yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you. Again, for all of you, what are your thoughts on Matt Shakman's career moves? What are your thoughts on the states of both the start of Star Trek 4 and Fantastic Four? Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. And now, moving forward, like before we get into our review of 3,000 Years of Longing, Darius, are you much of a BioShock fan by any chance?
I am familiar with the series. I've never been big on it, but I do know of the series.
Okay, all right. Because I remember, I'm in like a similar boat as you. My brother actually played the game. Much more frequently than I did, and of course, again, the BioShock movie is based on like the popular first-person shooting game. And, you have Netflix producing it. You have Francis Lawrence directing. I think that's been the biggest update so far, at least one of the bigger updates so far as of recent. This is the same guy who did The Hunger Games 2, 3, and 4. Hunger Games Catching Fire, in particular, was a massive improvement over the first Hunger Games. He also directed I Am Legend. So thinking about his resume for something like this, again, giving the vague familiarity I have with the BioShock video games, he could possibly be a good fit for directing this.
Yeah, here's the thing when it comes to these adaptations. I almost never have a problem, or sometimes, I'm not going to say never definitively, but I usually don't have a problem with directors in general doing a project. It's always going to be the studio behind it. I mean, Resident Evil, that's an atrocious, I'm sorry, that on Netflix, that was bad. And they canceled it already after one season. They're doing a One Piece live action adaptation. They've done other anime adaptations that sucked, like Death Note. So BioShock, and again, there was Halo, and that sucked. But that's a different studio. But with BioShock, I think the director is a really good choice. That's a really solid choice to do, especially that he did I Am Legend. He can do something definitely with BioShock. Because I've played BioShock Infinite, but again, I don't know. It's Netflix. I'm not saying Netflix is bad, terrible, or anything, but it's just like the adaptations they keep doing, especially live action, have not been received well. Usually. And I don't know how I feel about BioShock just yet. Again, director-wise, awesome. Netflix-wise, not sure, especially considering with the live-action Avatar and what happened through that, and the creators of that left the project. And obviously they're doing their own thing at Nickelodeon now, but again, with BioShock, I don't know. I don't know how I feel just yet. I'm gonna have to wait and see some more information, this, that, and the other. Same thing with the Borderlands movie. I don't know about that one either. It's not Netflix, but in general, I don't know how I feel about some of these game adaptations going forward now.
Yeah, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to have the best track record. The only ones that I can think of that are actually decent, especially for video game movies, are Detective Pikachu and the 2 Sonic movies. And again, those have their flaws too, but I look at those, I'm like, oh, these are actually watchable and entertaining. Exactly. You can't say that with really the vast majority of video game adaptations. And honestly, too, I enjoyed Mortal Kombat a lot more than I thought I would. Yeah. I know you weren't as crazy about it, but yeah, again, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to have the best track record. And it just goes to show, right? As much as Netflix has made a lot of great stuff, right? Namely Stranger Things. I could rally off other shows too if I felt like doing it. But they're not as much of a certain bet as you would think either. Like every other studio out there, right? They're not the certain bet. No studio is a certain bet. So with this BioShock movie, again, based on what I kind of know about it, the source material is there. The pedigree seems to be there with Francis Lawrence directing it. Michael Green is working on the script. He was a screenwriter for both Logan and Blade Runner 2049, or at least one of them. So again, pedigree's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there.
So, yeah, it's definitely there. So, like Netflix, the ball's in your court at this point. Don't fuck this up.
Exactly. And it's like, I think these game adaptation movies can work. And it's interesting because I was talking to someone like last night about the D&D movie. I'm excited for that. It looks dumb fun. And he made a good point, and it made me think of another movie that a different approach they could have done. And he was saying that the fantasy aspect is cool and all, but what if, instead of just doing a fantasy movie like every other fantasy movie, like it makes it look like that, mix in live action of, let's say, actual people in a D&D match playing the game, and like at some point someone's trying to like transition into like an animal or something, you cut to like someone basically saying you can't do that, and like it becomes like this drama of like the rules and everything, and it reminded
like a meta sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that could work too. Again, it's all about like the approach, or like taking these IPs and like what actually makes them special and putting it into that adaptation format. And D&D is a very imaginative game too, so I think like that's actually a really great idea compared to what we're actually getting. And it reminded me a bit of the Lego Movie, where at the end,
yeah, I was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can go for it.
No, I was just gonna agree with you. Like again, like as soon as you said meta, like that, like meta, like that meta element of like people playing like the board game, like that, like the Lego Movie was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, exactly.
And it actually worked really well. It was such an unexpected twist. Like I remember sitting in the theater, watching that scene play out. I'm like, what am I watching? Like I never would have thought in a million years that they would have gone for something like that.
Yeah. So I think like even that approach for, let's just say, D&D, right? Could have been really interesting to see. But again, back to BioShock, it's man, I think this is the fifth time I'm saying this. Cautiously optimistic yet again. Fourth.
I think you're fourth. I think it's the fourth.
Still close enough.
I could be wrong.
It's a wait and see. I think there are definitely some game adaptations that worked really well, but in animated format. I just recently watched Tekken Bloodline. Honestly, great adaptation, but that's an animated format. Dota Dragon Blood, based off of Valve's Dota game, really solid so far. So it can work. It's just a matter at this point, not everything has to be live action. You can do adult animation or full CG movie.
Like going back, it's funny that you mentioned that, because like going back to what I was saying about Detective Pikachu and the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, right? The hokiest, really the weakest elements of both those films really are centered around the live action aspects of it. I think if you just made it more centered on like the animation, or like the visual effects, and like you kicked out the live action stuff, like those movies I think would be a lot stronger now that I think about it. Because again, like you watch Sonic the Hedgehog, right? You don't care about like his human buddy or anything like that. Like you want to see Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Dr. Robotnik. Same thing with Detective Pikachu. That kid in that movie annoyed the shit out of me. His love interest annoyed the shit out of me. Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu was hilarious. Psyduck was hilarious. And again, I'm not even a Pokemon fan, and I still enjoyed that movie a lot more than I originally would have thought because of those aspects. So like I do think that if you kept it as more of like an animated thing, depending on the IP, it would work much better than having to mix a live action element in there. BioShock, again, based on what I know, I don't know how. I feel like that has more potential to be a better live action adaptation, depending on the tone that they go for it. Because like certain things I feel like should be live action. Like as much as Halo seemed to get like mixed reviews or mixed reception, I feel like that being just animation as opposed to being live action, I feel like there's a potential to be missing there. I think of other video game franchises that I've heard about, like possibly getting movies and stuff like that. Gears of War, Call of Duty, those should be live action, and I feel like BioShock is in that same category.
Yeah,
But again, not everything. I do agree with you. Not everything has to be live action when it comes to video game adaptations. Absolutely.
yeah, like not all.
Look at the Mario Bros. Movie that's coming out.
Look at what?
Look at the Super Mario Bros. Movie that's coming out.
Yeah, and that's all.
And remember the Super Mario Bros. Live action movie that came out in like what 1993? Holy shit! Oh my god! And here's the thing. Again, we don't know too much about the Super Mario Bros. Movie like the animated one, but we know it's being made by the same people that did the Despicable Me movies, right? Illumination. The voice cast of that movie that was announced is interesting to say the least. Maybe that could actually go somewhere. Who really knows? But I think that's possible that could maybe go somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's come to the point where I don't mind live action adaptations of these things, of these games. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of which one works the best in live action and which works best in animation format, or a different medium.
Yep.
And video games are already interesting medium in itself because it's an interactive experience instead of, let's say, film and television where it's more viewer based, it's more interactive based. So it's like, how do you translate that? But I think it can be done, but you have to take away a bit of again, it depends on the game. It depends on what's being adapted. When it comes to Halo, obviously that should be live action. Like you said, Gears of War, Call of Duty, live action. But things like, let's say, like a Tekken, or, a Soul Calibur, or, stuff like that, things that, they could be animation, or, Mario, animation, Sonic. Honestly, you could do a full CG Sonic movie, and I'd be alright with that. But you can...
I think that's what they should have done.
And again, this goes into, I think, one of the great aspects of certain animations and CG formats is that it now relies on the art style. So you can do a realistic looking Sonic full CG movie, or go back to the basic of Sonic and just, that sort of thing. Same with Mario and etc. It's gonna come down to that art style and the physics, and much more involved than trying to combine the two and make it look real. Stick to one, and maybe do you want to go a realistic approach like Lion King did, or dial it back a bit. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of animation sometimes. And I feel that certain properties should be that, and others can obviously be live action. But again, I'm cautiously optimistic. There we go, 5.
That's 5. That's 5. That's 5. Yeah, same here. I'm in a similar boat as you. Again, based on what I know about BioShock, again, I do feel like it could possibly make an interesting movie. All this really at this point is about execution, right? And I think that's what goes wrong with so many of these adaptations. Don't get me wrong, certain things just aren't going to make a good movie. If they ever make an Animal Crossing, I think that's how an Animal Crossing movie, I think that's how we know that that movies are dying, right? If they ever go so low as to do that.
Yeah.
But again, it all depends on the execution more than anything too. So again, we'll see. It's as with most of the things we talk about on the show, it's a wait and see. So we're gonna wait and see exactly what happens. Again, for everybody that's with us, what are your thoughts on the BioShock movie? Are you much of a fan of the BioShock video games? Do you have any faith in this whatsoever? Any interest? Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. And of course, as always. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the button for more entertainment industry news reactions like these that we just gave you. All right, now, to cap off the show, we're going to be reviewing 3,000 Years of Longing, a.k.a. the new film from the director of Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller. He gave us Mad Max Fury Road as well as Happy Feet, and this is based on the short story The Djinn and the Nightingale's Eye. On a trip to Istanbul, a lonesome scholar meets a djinn who offers 3 wishes to trade for his freedom. The film is, of course, starring Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. Now, picking off of that, I remember when we talked about this trailer, when it came out, however many months ago at this point, we both were intrigued by Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba being paired together in the same film. And I have to say, I'll start out by saying their individual performances I thought were really solid. I forgot that they were acting most of the time. I had to remind myself, oh shit, that's a White Witch from Narnia. And oh shit, that's Idris Elba. But you made this point too before I did, as we were coming out of the theater, their chemistry, just I don't know. There's just something about their pairing that just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I noticed and felt from the movie, and even throughout, was that I wasn't fully invested in their chemistry and necessarily their dynamic. I was interested more in the short stories he was telling, even though those short stories, I feel very mixed, if not a bit more negative about it now compared to when we first got out. Mainly because I'm looking at even some of the short stories, and it's like, all right, they didn't feel as, at least, maybe connected as I thought it would be, especially considering the ending. Like, the ending kind of almost ruined it for me in a bit. But again, that beginning, a bit of the middle was a bit lackluster, but the beginning I thought was pretty interesting, pretty strong. But in general, I kind of wasn't as engaged in the film as I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as much as those like short stories that he was telling throughout, like were interesting, right? On an individual story basis, those were interesting. Yes. But they kind of just felt like what the story as a whole like felt kind of scattershot, right? So I kind of felt like these short stories were just like thrown in there just to be thrown in there. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like they served a greater purpose other than to be interesting in that moment. Like, I think the only thing that you could say like this movie has, right, is like a cautionary tale of wishes, right? Like everything you wish for, has a ripple effect, like the grass is always greener on the other side, but like, there's a consequence to everything, be careful what you wish for. That overlying theme throughout the movie is great. But at the same time, for some reason, these short stories, like I said, they just felt like, little things to be shoehorned in there. Yeah. In like the grand scheme of things, as interesting as they were on an individual basis.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and one of the things, even when it came to like the short stories, it was, and this goes back to like how we're phrasing it, is that it was interesting, but not necessarily we really liked it or enjoyed it. It was interesting. It was a different approach. But again, for me, I wasn't as sold or invested in it heavily. I did like the one thing I was invested in, and I really did like to a certain degree. And again, honestly, it tapered off completely for me at the end. It was Jin. Mm-hmm. It was the Jin. It was Idris Elba's character. I liked him a lot, like throughout, and I liked how he was telling the stories. I liked how even certain stories you can tell he felt a certain way, and, I like that. But also how Tilda Swinton's character was sort of reacting to it, that chemistry just, I wasn't sold on, or I didn't feel it as much as I think it should have.
Which is not good, because the vast majority of the movie is the two of them. It's the two of them. So, yeah. Yeah, no.
It's just the movie felt jarring. I think it felt jarring, disjointed at times, and just like when you think they're about to hit an emotional beat and a really good one, they kind of either dial it back or they switch, And I've noticed it from time to time, especially even the transitioning to each of the independent stories that the genie was telling. It didn't feel as organic as I think it should have.
Yeah, because like the entire time he's literally telling her everything, right? Like now, I just thought of this now. Like what I think would have made this movie so much better, right? You get rid of everything having to do with Tilda Swinton's character, and you take all these individual short stories, and you just focus on that. You find a way to streamline those and connect those. Maybe like just like write some more story to transition into each of those individual short stories that we saw. I think you have a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a
and just focus it more on like.
I like that approach.
And just focus it more on Idris Elba's character, like trying to gain his freedom. Like if the entire movie was just that throughout, again, 3,000 years, I think that would have been much more compelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would have. And again, it's not. I don't think Tilda Swinton character was bad. It was just. The end, yeah, it wasn't in sync, and I think the ending kind of threw a lot of what I guess they were trying to go for up in the air, sort of thing, and they didn't know exactly how to stick the landing, and even with certain revelations, it didn't like Tilda Swinton's character is an interesting one, mainly because I think it sort of backfired, like what she ended up doing in the end. I don't want to spoil it. It backfired in a way that she didn't expect. I can't. Oh man, I don't want to go into spoilers, but it was that ending,
all right.
and like how, you start seeing the djinn and that thing. Yeah, when he was closing into the basement. That's all I can say.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
We
don't need to go. We don't need to dig deeper than that. I see.
Like
I don't want to spoil anything,
but like that scene, it was just like it kind of almost all the things she was saying and how and as we were talking about with the themes of the movie, it backfired on her. And not necessarily out of ill intent or anything like that compared to the other characters and the stories he was telling, where they kind of went mad, whatever, and got lost. This was just in a more almost a nuanced way that was trying to also give that wholesome feeling of that overall of what, and again, of the theme as we were talking about of, all of these stories when it comes to witches and genies is, casualties and that sort of thing. And like, there's a double-edged sword to it. And I think it was done, but in a different way. And I like that, but again, the other ending too, it kind of just reverted back, and I wasn't too fond of it. But yeah, like I said, it's a weird movie. I feel odd with it. I'm not entirely too sure still. But overall, just my experience I didn't feel as invested, and it just felt disjointed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in a similar, if not the same boat as you. I'm still very much a mixed bag on this film. What I will say is I do have to applaud George Miller for doing something different. Mm-hmm. Right? Think about it. This guy is in his, 70s, mid to late 70s, and he's making a movie as crazy as this one. Just 7 years ago, he made Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest action movies of all time, right? Widely considered one of the greatest action movies of all time. The film was not even a decade old. So I do have to applaud him for that, for trying something different, because there's so much about this movie that felt different. Even if not all of it worked, I do applaud the effort, and I noticed the effort. Mm-hmm. So and I could still, anytime like his name is brought up in conversation, or like anytime he has like, another movie coming out, like moving forward, I'll still be interested. Like I'll still remember Mad Max Fury Road more than 3,000 years.
Yeah.
But, I respect him very much as a filmmaker. I do feel like this movie was a little too odd for its own good. Because again, there's a certain oddness that comes with George Miller's films that, again, in a lot of ways work and make them feel like their own thing and stand out and still make you feel more invested. This movie with 3,000 Years, I'm like, that quirkiness like didn't always sell. It didn't always work. There was an emotion that I felt was lacking. I do think that this movie, particularly towards the end, like the third act of the movie, I'm like, all right, when's this ending? This felt like it was going to end multiple times. Mm-hmm. And anytime it didn't end, anytime I was wrong about it not ending, I'm like, oh, man. So, like, it could have probably been a little bit shorter. Visuals, I have to say, visuals from the effects to, like, the costume design, the production design, like, that was really solid. I'll definitely give the movie a lot of credit for that. What do you think about, like, the visual aspect of this film overall and, like, the artistic design?
Artistic design, when it came to some of the short stories, really solid. Him as the genie in certain scenes, it didn't look right to me. Like, I could kind of see almost, I don't know, I guess now I have an eye for this on occasion, not all the time. But I kind of saw, like, almost as if Tilda Swinton's character was, like, silhouetted or masked into the scene per se, and it didn't look entirely right. But overall, the visuals, production design, as you were saying, I thought they looked great. There are just certain scenes, when it came to the, certain scenes just didn't completely sell me, when he was big and massive.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, looking back on that, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, what are your if you have gotten a chance to watch it, what are your thoughts on George Miller's film 3,000 Years of Longing, Leave your thoughts wherever it is that you can. And of course, as always, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications for more movie reviews like this one. And just like that, that's all we have for you today. And we'll see you next week. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.